This is a season of love. The Bible says that for God so loved the world, that is why he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him will not perish but have everlasting life. Have you thought about this? Do you know what it takes that God himself would give up his only begotten Son to come and die for us? It should tell you that Christ really loves us as his children. What have you done this season? What have you done? Have you touched someone's life? This is not a season of having reckless fun. Rather, it should be a season that you should endeavor to touch someone's life. Bless someone this season of love. Give to the homeless. Share the word of God to somebody, because this is the only reason why Christ came to die on this earth. So that you and I can be saved. So that you and I can have life and have it more abundantly. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, once again. You are watching us live, of course, on Omega Live TV. This is My Life is My Testimony. If you are watching us on Facebook, do not forget to hit the like button. And on YouTube as well, do not forget as well to hit the subscribe button. I am very excited today. This is a special Christmas edition, and we have a special guest in our midst. I will unveil him in a bit. But as usual, I would like to introduce our own evangelist, right, Adade.
Thank you.
You're welcome, bro.
Thank you very much. Merry
You're
Christmas
looking
to you.
smart as well.
Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas as well.
Merry Christmas to you and to all the viewers.
Yes.
God richly bless you. Hope you've had a very fruitful and a blessed Christmas. And thank you for once again for joining us on This Is My Life is My Testimony.
Right. And of course, our special guest for today. Before I go to him, Evangelist Bright.
Yes, sir.
I want us to, I want you to tell us what Christmas is about, just in a few minutes.
Okay.
What you've done? Have you touched someone's life this Christmas?
I think Christmas is a very important key, and I think one thing we must realize and must know, as Christians, is that as it says, unto us a child is born, a king is born. We have to know who is this king. Is Jesus Christ. Jesus is the reason for the season. Is the reason why we celebrate this special season, and that's why at this time is the time that we show love, we show care, we show the goodness of Christ. Okay. As him being a good shepherd. That's right. The one that came to, even though he came in his heavenly glory. That's right. He came in the form of man. That's right. And he didn't come in his heavenly glory. He humbled himself even to the point of loyalty men. So that's why he was born in a manger. I mean, he was born in a place where you never have found a king being born there. Wow. But he humbled himself so that he showed humans how we must show such humility and love for each other. It's a time where to help the poor, somebody who's less fortunate, a widow, the young people, orphan, someone who's a bit less fortunate. This is the time where you touch somebody. Wow. And I think this is some of the principles where, it's a time as Christians, you must show this drive. That to go out there and reach someone who doesn't have maybe a meal to eat, that you can share food with, that you can share maybe someone who don't have clothes, you can clothe them at this time, so that you show them the love of Christ. Not only just, it's a great time as also to sit down and with your family, enjoy your meals, enjoy your food, and have your nice festive. But as you do that as well, you must think about the others, those who don't have. This is what the love of Christ is, having compassion for others as well. So, it's Christ is the reason why we celebrate. Because unto us a king was born. The king who's the savior of us all. Who came onto this earth that we might have life and have it abundantly. That he came that, so God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. So that whosoever believes him will never perish, but have everlasting life.
Thank you, Evangelist Bright. Yes, before I introduce our special guest for today, I want you to do one thing that I always ask you to do. Please share this video. Share this video with a brother. Share this video with a sister, your mom, your dad, whoever that you need to share this video, whoever you think that needs to be touched today. Like I say always, this program is about God, it's about Christ, it's about the love of Christ. It's to encourage someone, it's to inspire someone out there for them to know that, you know what, it is not late, it is not too late. No matter the situation that you have found yourself in, Christ is always ready to pull you out and bring you into his light. So please, just hit that share button, share this video on your Facebook pages, in your WhatsApp, just share this in your statuses, just forward this link to someone. It is both on YouTube and Facebook. So if someone does not have a Facebook page, of course you can share with them the YouTube link as well. Please, 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 if you have not hit the like button on our Facebook page, it is Omega Live TV. Hit that like button and go to our YouTube page as well and hit the subscribe button. I am excited today. We have a great young man here. He has achieved so much, and that is one thing that amazes me right now. And you know what? Rome was not built in a day. He has a story that he wants to share with us. You know what? His name is Folayo Osekita. I hope I got that name right. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Wow. Folayo is currently at Rolls-Royce, and he's a program manager. Wow. Did you hear that? I said he's a program manager at Rolls-Royce, and currently he's also moving to Safran Group. If you know that, or if you happen not to know, just hit Google, just find out what these two companies are. Right. So yes, it is my pleasure to welcome you, Folayo. Welcome to My Life Is My Testimony.
Thank you, Bedford, and thank you, Bright, for inviting me along as well.
Yes.
Good evening to all our viewers around the world.
Sure.
I'm really, really honored and inspired to be here.
Yeah.
I think you guys have a great vision.
Thank you.
And I think that a lot of people will be inspired by the testimonies that you constantly bring.
Sure. Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to watch a couple of your live feeds, and I've been personally very inspired myself. So thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you too for honoring our invitation. And before Folayo goes on to his story, I still want to encourage you to share this video. Tell someone, you know what, there's a young, great guy here who works in Rolls-Royce. He's a programs manager in Rolls-Royce. An African person per se, to be specific. This is not that common, is it? No. So, you know what? I encourage you to share this. He has a story. He has a great story that he has to share with us. Call someone. Like I said, he has how he got there. He's going to tell us everything, the challenges that he faced, how God brought him out. It is all God. What he is today, it is God. Hallelujah. So, Folayo, brother Folayo, so, what is your story?
I mean, I don't really have a script that I prepared before.
It's fine. It's all right.
This is the standard thing.
Yes.
But what I will say is that I've been blessed with very, very strong parents.
Yes.
You know, parents who will leave no stone unturned, you know, to make sure that their children are well provided for.
Yeah.
My parents arrived in this country in 1987. They barely had anything, really.
Right.
And they found themselves on the North Peckham estate. In Peckham, and any of you who know what Peckham is like,
Peckham is not an easy place to to grow up, you know.
It wasn't an easy place at all. That's all.
I know, because I've been there. I lived there. that's where I grew up.
That's where you grew up as well.
You know, that's my childhood neighborhood. You know what I mean?
You know. So the first thing they did is to ban the Peckham vernacular from our house, so the Peckham way of speaking, you know, so we weren't allowed to say "inni" and all of that.
Right.
So it's only in school I said that this is probably the first time my parents are hearing we spoke that kind of thing in school. But you know, we had to blend in. Yeah. And the thing about Peckham was even walking through the streets, if you make eye contact with the wrong person, or you mistakenly look in one direction that you're not supposed to look in, you might just hear something like "Who you screaming, bro?"
Yes.
You know, that sort of thing, you know. So it was not an easy place to grow up in, but I also got to understand that a lot of the people who were on the other side perpetrating also had come from broken homes, come from different walks of life, that, you know, it wasn't a level playing field.
Sure.
Right.
But I thank God that he was faithful. I thank God for providing me with parents who were very, very strong. My dad raised us as lions, as soldiers. You know, very, 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 very assured, very, very strict. A lot of people wondered when I was growing up, why don't you do sleepovers? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? You know, even up to today, I have lots of friends that call me granddad and things like that.
Wow.
because of the upbringing. But when I think back to it, my parents had to be absolutely strict, because there was danger, you know, all around in the air. And Bright will know some of this, you know. Yeah. And there was also in the air a low pupil expectation as well. So the people living in Peckham, inner city London, they're not expected to leave that kind of environment and go into it. So they will start encouraging you to go into sports very early or go into something. Now, there's nothing wrong with sports or creative arts or anything, but at least give the child a chance to be able to decide for themselves what they want to do. Don't just rule them out from certain institutions and certain areas. What has changed now? We seem to have a lot more access to technology than we did when we were growing up.
That's right.
You know, I remember my first mobile phone was given to me when I was 14.
Wow.
He was old then.
It was a little Samsung phone.
Right.
I think Samsung. One of these phones with a big aerial. It looked like a walkie-talkie. You know, so you couldn't really access the internet.
Telecom type of phone.
Yeah. You know, Siemens. That
was the Siemens. Yeah. With a big chip.
Yeah.
The big card. It was like a card.
Yes, correct. That goes into it. You know.
That was back in the days. I remember.
Yeah.
My parents had one back in the early, in the late 90s. I think it was. Yeah.
And you know, I still remember writing letters to my grandmother. You know, handwritten letters. And my dad correcting the grammar, my mom, you know, making sure that we do our homework when we get home, learning times tables and so on. It was all about discipline. Growing up was all about discipline. But it wasn't always easy. You know, when you come to school, you're not allowed to go outside, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that, but you see people, it looked like they had their freedom to do whatever they wanted. So sometimes you would feel a bit discouraged, you know, you would feel why, you know, and then you end up, you know, being bullied for not wearing 110-pound trainers and so on and so forth. If you remember, now, thank God for Afro beats and everything, people know how to dance to all of this. Growing up, it was almost, you had to hide the fact that you were African.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Big time. You know, the way you spoke, the way you came up.
The way you spoke, your accent, you know, everything had to be disguised.
Right.
You know, so the strong parenting really helped us through that. You know, you know, sometimes we go home, my parents would say to us, "See, you are not trend followers, you are trend setters."
That's right. Yeah.
You know, messages like that, things like before you leave the house, my dad will tell you, "Remember the house from which you came."
Definitely.
In other words, don't go and do something outside that's going to bring shame on the name of this family.
That's right.
That was really, really important and something which really, really helped.
Right.
You know, so growing up in Peckham was tough. That's the summary. I went to a primary school in Camberwell.
Yeah.
I spent about 5 or 6 years there, and then moved to another primary school in Camberwell again.
Right.
And then from there, did well, and then moved into St. Thomas the Apostle College, which was a very, very interesting place.
Very, very interesting.
It was the first time I realized that football can be painful. we had a game called Nutmeg Rush.
Yeah.
For those of you who are listening to us who don't know what nutmeg is, it's when the ball is passed between your legs. It's a very embarrassing moment for any footballer.
That's right.
And it should never happen. And because of that, on the school playground, you would be rushed. Rushing means the whole playground is a very terrifying experience.
Wow.
The whole playground will run after you.
It was really bad, the whole playground.
To try and beat you up, you know. But in a way, everybody, you know, we found a way to manage ourselves.
That was bad. I remember some of the experience. Some people get rushed, and where some people will be badly kicked on, and will be badly rushed, and even some people weren't even in a fit. I remember, you know, one guy passed out, and he had to get, you know, ambulance to get attached to it. I think there was a lot of times some people got hurt, and even that times as well, some people got suspended for it.
Yeah,
I remember I was one of the culprits, and I ended up getting, you know, sent home for a long time.
You know. So the reason I'm just trying to paint, I'm not trying to paint a gory picture. I'm just trying to share the reality of it.
That's right.
Because the message really is, even from something so challenging, if you have the right drive, if you have the right determination, the right support, you can get out of it.
Yes.
You know, we're hearing reports regularly of young people being stabbed or stabbing each other and so on and so forth. you know, there's a separate story around what's going on in the city and the market for all these drugs and so on and so forth, which needs to be addressed. But if we look internally at our own communities and within ourselves, there's a lot we can be doing to try and inspire these young people, to try and show them that there's a different way, you know, there's a different path that they can follow. They don't just have to follow the path that leads them to destruction, you know, and I think we need to do more in that space to try and help these young children. Sure.
So how I know you've touched a bit on your family, but it looked, well, from what you're saying, it looked as if everything was fine, prim, proper, you know, strict African parents. Where was church involved in your setting?
So you see, in the way our family was brought up, you see, we believe very strongly that where 2 or 3 are gathered in his name, there he will be in our midst. The first ministry is the family. Oh, wow. So, and this is where we got into some challenges as well. So okay. Yes. We used to pray as a family every morning. Yes. Anytime prayer can be called. We even had a bell, prayer bell. Ding, ding, ding. You know, it's time to pray, you know. Yeah. We had conga drums. I remember being shorter than the congas and growing and becoming taller than the congas. Those conga drums are still in the house. In your home? In the home. So you had a full-blown church service in your house? In the house. Wow. In the house. Yeah. And, you know, we always felt we were trying to be reasonable with the service and so on and so forth. But some of the neighbors, just the fact that there was a family that was praying together, it used to cause them to be jealous. Oh, wow. And they used to find all sorts of ways to disrupt the flow of the prayer and so on and so forth. Even before school in the morning, I remember some of the next door neighbors directing the hose pipe with water through the windows. Into our living room. Really? Oh yes. Wow. Oh wow. Yes. Wow. We've had some of the neighbors downstairs throwing peanuts at the window, you know, bananas at the window, things like that. That's terrible. That's terrible. Even
I'm not surprised. That's Peckham for you. Yeah, but go on. Yeah, you know, as she was going.
You come out in the morning, you want to go to school, all 4 tires are deflated. Wow. You know, somebody has gone malicious. Just because you're praying? Just because. Was it an issue of noise making, or it was just... For them, they turned it into an issue of noise making. But when the noise abatement team came and so on and so forth, the noise level was fine. Oh, wow. So it just turned out to be jealousy. Jealousy at the fact that there was a family unit in Peckham that could actually be resilient to some of the challenges of Peckham. Okay. So what people saw with your family is that you weren't like the stereotype Peckham family. Correct. Wow. Correct. So they had to be against you if you're not part of them. Correct. Wow. So where did you actually go to church? Were you part of a family of? We weren't really part of a particular church. Okay. We saw our family ministry as church. Okay. Very, very early on, we used to go to a church. Okay. But then after some time, we were instructed by God that we should be praying at home. Wow. And this is where tremendous blessings have been coming from. A lot of people don't quite understand this, but for us, that's what worked. I can imagine, because, you know, you telling me this, I'm going like, wow, you know, what a direction. But absolutely. Well, God has various ways of God moves in mysterious ways. Exactly. So he moves in mysterious ways. Yeah. So as a child, as a young guy, how was education like? You know, with you, you know, what challenges did you face in? So education was quite tough. Wow. In the sense that we had drive. Okay. But sometimes we found when we went to school that the teachers were more interested in trying to get some statistics for the school, you know. So at the time, if you remember, we used to have this A-star. Yes. It's all changed to grade 1 to 9 now, but A-star, A, B, C, you know. Yeah. And there was higher tier and foundation tier. That's right. And the safe bet was to try and push the students to do the foundation paper, because that would enable them to get the C grade, which will enable them to say that, you know, we've achieved 5 A to C grades. A certain percentage of the school has achieved 5 A to C grades and so on and so forth. So one of the biggest challenges was actually trying to fight for being able to, you know, push to the higher level, not accepting the mediocrity that was being sort of forced on us by some of the teaching staff. we were fortunate to have some very good teaching staff, but there were some who were more interested in, you know, the average and trying to just be average.
Okay.
So the first thing is mentally trying to overcome that.
Okay.
The other side of it is just how do you stay motivated? You know, you want to play, you don't want to really go home and study, but by constantly setting ourselves the vision of where we wanted to be, it enabled us to stay focused on the education, even amidst all the challenges going on. And one of the things that I would say to any parents who are listening at the moment is there's this approach that some parents have of giving their children everything and not wanting the children to share in the struggles that they're facing.
Okay.
My parents didn't take that approach. We saw everything. We saw the highs, we saw the lows. And but there's nothing more powerful than a child seeing for themselves how struggle is, how it is when things are not going so well, and actually helping out with those things. Because when a child gets involved in that, it gives them a self-motivation to want to try and get to a position where they won't need to struggle.
Okay.
And when that happens, it gives you tremendous drive and really, really maintains your laser focus on your objectives.
Do you mind sharing with us some of your lowest point as a family, if you don't mind?
Okay, yeah, that's no problem at all. So I can give an example in terms of my parents came here in 1987.
Okay.
And they stayed here for quite some time before having to go back to, before, you know, we were able to go back to Nigeria, not being able to afford to go on holiday.
Okay.
Not being able to afford to go on a flight back to see your own parents. Having come into this country is quite tough, you know. Yeah. So things like that are things that make it even more challenging and make you as a child even more determined.
That's right.
To help, to be one day in a position to be able to help this situation, you know. And my parents, obviously, they grew up and they came to this country at a time when it was really challenging for people of African and Caribbean descent to mix in and mingle with the workforce.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people have had some really, really horrendous experiences in that space. You know, so, and you know, to many extents, some of those issues are still existent today. Right. So you have children. So my parents invested everything in the children to make sure that they have everything they need to be able to progress in society. You know.
Wow. So let's go back to Peckham. Peckham as a place. You know, we know a lot of stories. Evangelist Bride here is, I won't say you're a product of Peckham, but yes, you've been through the hellfire in Peckham, and you know, did you have such similar experiences? How did that kind of environment affect you? Because it's very surprising, it's very, very amazing to see someone like you coming out from a place like Peckham and becoming who you are right now. You know, how was it like? How did you ever see, you know, all those kind of...
So let's just put it this way. So I don't know if anybody has heard about the Damilola and Taylor case. But we lived on the same landing as the people who have been accused of committing the crime of murdering him. You know, and we were on the same landing. We lived at number 1, they lived at number 5, you know, so it was a challenge going to sleep at night and hearing sirens almost every night. You know, there's always, sometimes you hear gunshots, sometimes you're not sure whether it's bonfire night or
somebody's wildly shooting off.
Somebody's shooting something in celebration. You know,
wild celebrations going on.
Sometimes it could be a bit difficult to sleep.
Definitely.
You know, of course, when you hear something like that, you know, the parents will say, I think we need to be careful about going outside to play this evening. Sometimes you see, I remember there was one day looking through the window. You know, that window in the living room was very significant. I'll come on to that. You know, so I saw a lot through that window. You know, and I was very glad to be behind the window sometimes. You know.
Yeah.
You know? So that window, I saw my dream in that window as well, and I also saw some of the challenges. So we saw a lot of the fights and a lot of the running, and you know, I didn't know there were so many Chinese people living in Peckham one day. Until one of the children was bullied. and then I saw the entire population, I believe, coalescing around that, that area where I lived, So there were different communities, but very multicultural and lots of issues. But the other thing about Peckham is it's so close to so many places. It's so close to the city. It's so close to, you can get, bus 12, bus 36, 436, you name it. You can get anywhere from there. And the other thing it's close to is from an aerial perspective, from an aerospace perspective, it's close to Heathrow Airport, if you think about it.
Right.
So what you see through the window is aircraft. Wow. You hear it and then you see it. And for me, particularly, the one that caught my attention was the Concorde.
Wow.
Yeah, so Concorde, if anyone doesn't know it.
Those days when the Concorde used to go.
The Concorde, when it comes like this, you will be sure it's not bonfire night. It makes an absolute noise when it arrives.
Yeah. That's right.
And I remember looking at that thing and saying to myself, this is unbelievable. So God has given humankind, so much wisdom to be able to put this kind of thing together. We can either choose to use that wisdom to put that kind of thing together, or use it to keep on trying to maneuver ourselves in the streets and trying to,
Right.
So my focus then became, how can I contribute to, this thing up there in the sky? It was so fascinating to me. I used to, every time I heard Concorde, I would fly from it. We had a five-story maisonette then. Wow. So we didn't used to climb stairs. We fly down the stairs or climb the railings. So every time I saw the Concorde, I used to run down to the window and see it. There were four of us. We used to go and watch the Concorde fly over, and it was always awe-inspiring. So I said to myself, I want to be an aerospace engineer.
Okay. So let's just take the trip back. Looking at your upbringing, I can tell that everything was kind of going smooth in spite the challenges you've seen a lot being in Peckham. There's a lot of things that you went through. Back to education, did you face some challenges? I mean, what were the challenges that you had in school? Because I know probably from the way you're speaking, you might have been picked on in school, the kind of way that, because you seem different, you might have seemed different then from the way you were brought up. But before we do that, yes, listen to me. Tonight is a special edition. We have someone special in our midst. Someone who works in Rolls-Royce, one of our own. Yes. And he's here sharing his story. Why don't you just pick up that phone?
Very inspirational.
Just share this link with someone. Facebook, YouTube. If they don't have Facebook, don't worry. Just go to our page, our YouTube page, Omega Live TV. And then just share that link. I'm sure everybody has a YouTube app on their phones. Android, Apple phone, whatever phone that you are using, you should have a YouTube app. If not, just fall back on the Facebook page. Just hit our like button on Facebook and go to our YouTube. If you have not subscribed to our page, just hit that subscribe button. It is a special Christmas edition here. And we have with us Folayo, brother Folayo with us here, sharing his story, a great story at that. You are not too late if you just joined in, but I just want to remind you, still share that video with someone. And of course, you are still live with us. My life is my testimony on Omega Live TV, of course, powered by Omega House Multimedia. And brother Folayo was just about telling us about, his challenges that he faced in school. On the Facebook page. Yes, brother Folayo, just continue with what you were saying. How was school? What were the challenges that you faced?
So there's a word I remember: buffing. And in school, I was also very interested in music. So I remember I started carrying this big cello around. So I think it was a bit surprising because most people, what they were used to was, grime music or bashment or garage or R&B. And here I was, Nigerian or West African, carrying a cello around. You know, for those of you who are not familiar, the cello is like in the violin family.
Yeah, the big one. Yes.
Yeah, you sit down to play, and it was so strange to a lot of people. And not only that, I don't know if anybody remembers the Rootmaster Bus 36.
I remember when I used to see you hold it, actually, the big cello thing. I was thinking, where is he going with that? But it did get me to try and play the violin, though.
Yeah,
that's when we moved into playing the violin. I see you guys holding that big thing. I said, where the guy with that?
And if anyone remembers the Rootmaster bus, then you know, very, very tight.
Yeah,
so you could see the look on people's faces when I was about to board the bus with this thing. You know, you start saying, excuse me. You know, people have to move out of the way and so on and so forth. And then the cello will now take its own seat. I will take my seat. You know, so it was quite something. So that in its own right, I think some people loved it. Some people were just, what is this?
Right.
Is he one of us, or what is he trying to do? Yeah. And then with the same sort of confidence, I would then bring jollof rice into class. So people were wondering, and I could be a bit cheeky sometimes. Yeah, I will be honest about that. I remember we had an RE class, and as the teacher was writing on the board, I quickly brought out my jollof rice. I had a couple of spoons. As the teacher turns around, I would slip it back into the bag. Wow. And a lot of people remember that as, you know, funny. I think somebody described it as legendary that I actually added cow foot to it once as well. I think that was the first time they saw cow foot with jollof rice, you know. Yeah. But then, you know, now jollof rice is a thing. It's like fashion. It's like Bright's shirt, you know. Sure.
Even though there's a very little war between Ghanaian and Nigerian jollof.
But you know, in school those days, you know, when you bring something like that, it was strange to people. Everyone was trying to pick on you as well, because those food weren't, as to us, it was okay for us as African, but to the other cultures, they weren't used to that. Yeah. And they will laugh at you, and they will call you all type of names as well. And those are some of the challenges that you face. And obviously sometimes that will put you down as well, because you know, being young and you feel your parents has gone through all that hard work to cater such food for you, but yet, you know, other people will pick on you, and other things as well that will happen in school, you know, in the corridors when you're walking, and you know, people can smell the food, and someone will try and take it from you, or you know, all the challenges that you get in terms of when you go to inside the dinner hall. People try and bully you and take your money and stuff like that. You know, so I mean, me and you both went in the same school, so you know how it went. And everyone trying to go on machory and stuff like that. Including myself. you know how that was in that. So
it was very difficult to get through school without even engaging in at least one fight or the other. So
did you ever get into fights, certain fights and stuff like that?
I got into a couple.
And how was it? Did you have challenges of being, you know, abused, molested, as being, you know, a kid who wanted to be prim and proper and wanted to, you know, follow every single rule, be your parents' child? Did you ever have, challenge?
There was this, but then it's really, really strange the way that place works out. So, for example, Bright here, he was a strong man when we were in school, you know, like strong guy, you know. So, as long as you are on the right side of Bright.
Okay. So you were on the right.
Thank God for Jesus. We can laugh about it now.
It wasn't funny then, was it?
As long as you're on the right side of Bright, you have some protection.
Yeah, that's right.
But if you now fall onto the wrong side,
trust me.
God help you. You know. So it was just back in the day. You had to. I think that's when I started learning some small politics. You know. Wow. You know, to be able to
maneuver your way in the lobby here and there, just
lobby
to be
here and there.
Wow. So a lot of the times, you know, I face some of the things. I mean, he saw me go through it because, and you know, one thing is that in school, because it was an all-boys school, it was an all-male school, so you have to be tough.
Wow.
You couldn't really sit back on your nose and think, oh, you know what, I'll let this one do this and get away with it. You always had to be defensive. You always had to, look after yourself. Let people know that you would not have it. Basically, you will not take no rubbish from anyone, so that they know from the response and the way you carry yourself that they wouldn't try. And I remember one time, even when we were on the playground, and these guys came to take, I believe was, they took something from my bag, and we were having an argument on the playground. These two, I mean, I'm sure Folayo and all these guys saw it. I know it's just giving you some of the things that used to happen in our school. And then one of the brothers came and you know he was just there calling me all type of names, you African, this, that, and I was really upset. But I remember they took my bag. They took my bag and one of them tried to run with it, and then the other one tried to hit me from the back. And it was just me and these two guys. And then I gave them a proper beating,
a proper hiding.
And remember, this one was rushing me from the side. One was punching me from the back. The other one was trying to I remember stabbed me with a pen.
Yes, that's right.
From the front. But I took the pen from the one in the front, put him down. You know, I defended myself, and you know, I ended up giving them proper good lesson. You know, a good beating where. And from there, you know, my name got really, how everyone knew not to mess with me in the school.
When Bright walks like this, everybody will just, you know.
And I think that's what helped, because, and at the same time, it also helped the likes of me and, you know, like people like Folayo, and, you know, because one thing is, I will never allow anyone to basically pick on the people that was a bit like less vulnerable, or people that I felt that it was not strong to actually, you know, fight or physically defend themselves, but yet they were very able in terms of in class, in lessons, and they were not really no troublemakers. And that's one thing I always do. I stood for justice. I stood for what was right. Definitely. But at the same time, I will still back my own if I have to. And you will know about it anyway. You know, when I used to come to class, teachers, friends, everybody will know. And these were some of the things that, you know, I share with Folayo, because Folayo saw that from the other side. Right. And I respected his learning craft and the fact that he was very clever, and I always knew that he had a bit of a genius, or he is a genius. Wow. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what we shared in terms of school. We had challenges in school because the teach, you know, we had, you know, a lot of pressure, you know, as well as to do well in terms of your passing your subjects and other stuff. And you know, as you were saying, some of the challenges was to gain results for the school, and then at the same time as well. What we was doing, because of the fact that one was known, especially like me, that the teachers will pick on me. You know, I was always being suspended at school. We'll get kicked out of the school. Well, the likes of you know, Folayo would have saw it different, because he got their chance of being in the school and such. So these were some of the challenges as a youth, and I'm sure some other kids will be, even though they are not the bad, or they are not you know, they are not the worst in school, but because of the persona, because of the way people look up to them, whether in the school, you know, sometimes teachers dislike that, and they use that person as a scapegoat, to always set as an example. And
so there were definitely times when you know, people like yourself, right? You know, you can tell that just because your name is known, you now, anytime there's trouble, they just automatically assume
it was me,
that it was you. You know, and this is the thing, and I'd like to encourage anybody in that situation.
That's going through there.
You see, this is Bright today. Bright is, you know, is helping facilitate, you know, trying to get the message out there to help, you know, from his experience, get the message out to the youth that life can be different, you know. And if there's anybody out there in school who feels they're kind of stuck in this kind of quandary, this kind of, you know, constantly being excluded, and you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel if you're prepared to apply yourself, if you're prepared to believe in yourself. You know.
So at what, like you said earlier on, you spoke about, you know, standing in your windows and seeing the concourse, and at what point did your career fall into place? At what point did you know, or did you get inspired and said that, you know, this is what I'm going to do? At what point did that happen?
Okay, so obviously I started learning that to get involved in aerospace and stuff, you had to be interested in maths and physics. So I focused on trying to get good GCSE grades, which I did.
At what age did you actually know that this is what I want to do? At what point?
Probably at the age of 14.
14?
Yeah, 14.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think that's when when you come from Nigeria or West Africa or Ghana, you know, your parents will be, you know, your parents, their friends will be asking you things like, what do you want to be when you grow up, and so on and so forth. So I think I started answering confidently with one answer when I was 14. There were a few answers I gave beforehand, which my parents reorientated me about initially. So I remember wanting to be a footballer. Although I asked my dad now if I said I want to be a footballer, whether he would say no this time, because I saw the contract that Wayne Rooney signed the other time, and I thought,
that's where you want to go.
Yeah, maybe that would have been good, you know. So there was the football, and at one point I said I wanted to be a fireman. Remember I told you there were so many sirens in Peckham. I don't know whether I just, you know, seeing from the window, them putting out fires in dustbins and things. I don't know whether that. Yeah. But yeah, very, very quickly, my parents advised that, you know, that was probably not something they wanted me to do at this stage. So I focused on the aerospace engineering. And that's where, you know, I had to focus on maths and physics and, you know, start becoming interested in, you know, some of the industry things, the news around what was happening in the industry and so on and so forth. And of course, this leads me on to my next thing. So I did well at GCSE, you know, by the grace of God. Did really well. 5 A stars, 5 A's, you know. Wow. So did well. And then I went on to complete my A levels, and this is when I realized that it's not all a bed of roses. Even when you have good parenting and so on and so forth, things can still go wrong. And it's a real test of your mental resilience. So first year of A levels, a lot of people may not know this, but they might see me now and think everything was easy. But first year of AS levels, I wanted to quit completely, you know.
Really?
If not for my, so first year of A levels, I remember getting grades I'd never seen in my life before, you know, like E grades, like fails. Brett is looking shocked.
No, this one, I've never heard that.
No,
seriously, it was an E grade.
Yes. It was just something was not right, you know, the first year of A levels.
No way.
And then it turns out, my dad said I should go and do some testing for dyslexia, and this is why I wanted to raise this.
Okay.
You know, dyslexia is something that's frowned upon, and people think, oh, you know, if you're dyslexic, it means you're dumb. It doesn't mean you're dumb. It's just a difference in the processing memory. You know, sometimes it affects the way you read. It wasn't picked up at GCSE because the volume of material that you have to read at GCSE was lighter and so on and so forth. But when I got to A level, I found that I needed extra time to do exams and so on and so forth. And, you know, as soon as I went to get tested, did the extra exams and so on and so forth, I started to do better. And I was able to come out with an A and 3 Bs in my A levels. I had an offer at Cambridge University, which I couldn't take up because I missed the grade for Cambridge. Cambridge actually were good in the sense that they reduced the grade from 4 A's to 3 A's and a B. But I still didn't quite make it in physics and chemistry. Sorry, physics and further maths. But the point of the matter is, from a point of doing very well at GCSE, it could all have gone very, very pear-shaped.
That's right.
Wow. If not for the intervention of my father. Wow. And this is the reason why, you know, I say to some of the 17 and 18-year-olds, they think they've grown up, you know, they don't need to listen to parents anymore, they've got their independence. But at 17, my dad was still coming to school. He said, my son came here as a straight A-star student. What have you done to my son?
Wow. A typical African father, isn't it? that was
very serious. I think some people still remember this. You know, he came to this is not GCSE level, this is A level. He didn't care about whether or not I was embarrassed or not embarrassed. He came to the school playground and we had to come through the school playground to, you know, to go to the principal's office. And that's how we were able to arrange for them to the school actually paid for like 10 lessons of private tuition to get me up to speed, because I had to redo all my A levels in the second year, you know. And finally I got back to my feet, gained my confidence back. I was able to come out with good enough grades to then progress to Queen Mary, University of London, where I completed my aerospace engineering degree with the first class honours.
What university again, sir?
Queen Mary.
University
of London.
Okay.
Yeah. Where I completed my degree with the first class honours by God's grace. And I was also awarded the JPERS Prize for Outstanding Academic Achievement for doing very well academically there. So, you know, this is an example of where, you know, you can have a dip and it can be turned around, you know, with good focus.
Yes, so with that, like he just said, it is always not too late. No matter where you are in your life, no matter the circumstances that you find yourself in, it is not too late. It is never too late. Like he said, he when he got to that point where his grades went down, look, he still picked himself up, found, you know, where the problem was, and then he went through. This is the doing of God. I'm telling you, this is just the doing of God. Sometimes he puts us through things for us to learn, to know that, you know what, in life, there are a lot of challenges.
That's
you will definitely face a lot of challenges, but he's always there to see us through. If you just joined us, you are still tuned into Omega Live TV, powered by Omega House Multimedia. This is still My Life, It's My Testimony. We are just about to get to the best part of that story where you want to hear. Like I said, it is not too late. Pick up that phone and share it to someone. Just talk to someone and say, you know what, you need to hear this amazing gentleman called Folayo. You know what? Like I said, just keep sharing the video. If you have not liked our Facebook page, just go and hit the like button right now. And we are also, you know, on YouTube. We have our channel there. Same Omega Live TV. Just go and hit the subscribe button. If someone doesn't have the Facebook app, just let them know that, you know what, we are live on YouTube. We'll be reading the comments very, very soon. Sure. And you know what? You can call in if you have any questions, any comments. You can still call in. The number is on the screen right now. So it's free to call, right? So yes,
and the phone call is free. There's no charge.
Yeah. So if you want to call in, just feel free. Look, if you are a mom or a dad, you're watching, just call your son or your daughter and just call them and say, what? I want you to listen to this. This is a story that will inspire you. This is a story that will encourage you. This is a story that someone needs to hear and say, you know what? I want to be like this. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to go. Right. God richly bless you for watching us. You are still watching My Life, It's My Testimony, and we are with brother Folayo. He is a programs manager in Rolls-Royce. And currently moving from Rolls-Royce to Saffron, right?
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And at this young age, he has achieved so much. A young gentleman, one of our own, who is in Rolls-Royce. Wow, what an amazing story. He's here just to encourage you. He's here to share his story on how he got there, what the challenges that he went through. You know what? He was raised in Peckham, and that is the most amazing part of the story. Someone from Peckham who has been able to achieve this great, we would want to know, you would want to know, everybody would want to know how he did it. It is not impossible. With God, all things are possible. Like I said, just call someone. They need to hear this story right now. So, brother Folayo, yes, you finished uni now. How did you get to where you are? What was the journey like? Yeah.
So, university was an interesting experience. The reason I'm going back to university is because university is a huge part of how you can then get to. The key thing about university is you can't just go to university to just study.
That's right.
You have to try and get a rounded experience whilst at university, because employers out there are looking for people who can do more than just open a textbook and pass exams. Okay, so that's a huge part of it, but you need to be able to do more, as you know.
Yes.
So the first thing is at university, prior to university, at the end of my A-levels, I had the opportunity to go through Brokerage CityLink, which was which is a charitable organization which goes into schools and tries to get schools connected with the city. And through that, I was able to gain an internship program at UBS Investment Bank. Now, remember, the goal is aerospace engineer. But one thing I always say to people and advocate is, you take whichever opportunity comes your way.
That's right.
So I've never been the kind of person that says I want to be an aerospace engineer and I will only do things that look like aerospace engineering.
That's true.
Because as I've learned, the aerospace engineering profession actually encompasses everything. You need to be commercially savvy. You need to be able to understand engineering, physics, maths, but at the same time how to interact with people, how to work with people. Because it's all about working in teams. You can have somebody who has spent 40 years just looking at one particular component. So it's impossible for you to know everything about that thing. So some of, just bear with me, some of these life skills contribute to being able to succeed. I'll come on to that later. So I got into aerospace engineering. I was able to then start I got into UBS Investment Bank. I was able to then start doing an internship program within the operations division. There I learned about how to interact with people, introduction to working life, introduction to how the markets work. And then from there, I went to university, did my first year, did my second year, and then in my third year, because usually on a 4-year course, in your penultimate year, you start looking for internships. I then had the opportunity to gain an internship at IBM. And you asked me how did I do that. So initially, I had looked and looked and looked and looked. And yes, I am also one of the people that has been the humble recipient of the regrettably, unfortunately, email that you get when you apply to employers. and they say no. They say no.
With a long letter, isn't it? Unfortunately, we are sorry.
I have also been through that whole journey of replying to the email.
Oh, wow.
Before I realize some of them I do not reply. Oh. And you get another automated response again. But sometimes, what do you mean regrettably? You know, I've been through all of that. You know. But the key thing is you have to keep knocking on the door, and you have to keep believing that your time will come. And that's one thing that my parents, this is where parents and family can help as well. If that's not available to you, you can find somebody who you find as a role model, speak to them about it, you can be encouraged as well. You know, it is not a bed of roses. I am not somebody who agrees with this idea of just getting somewhere and then writing a book and saying this is how to do it when actually you haven't put the truth of what actually you went through. You know, because people want to be like you, but can they drink the cup that you drink? You know, you have to be able to lay everything out in terms of what you've been through for people to be able to decide whether or not this is the sort of path they want to take. You know, so I remember, you know, getting those emails regrettably, unfortunately. And then at one point, I thought to myself, okay, you know, I've had enough of this regrettably, unfortunately. Let me go and look for something. And I remember I had secured a job. I was very happy. Secured a job selling Orange broadband.
Wow.
You remember Orange? I don't know where Orange is today. Yeah, Orange broadband. So, and I'd gone to the training center. I think it was in Watford or something like that. And you know, they had, you know, I'd gone through the initial training. I was very happy. I had a smile on my face because they had just promoted me to team leader. I don't know what I was leading yet, but they said to me that, oh, you have good leadership skills. Wow. Would you like to be a team leader and earn an extra £250 a week on target earnings? So I was all set up. I collected the 10 laptops that I was going to share with my team members and everything. And then, you know, I was due to start in about 4 weeks. And then my brother, David, sent me a pamphlet that he received from his university about this IBM internship. So I just quickly assembled my application and applied. And I think that was the first application that summer that I received, and I actually got a human being was responding back to me.
Wow.
It was exciting.
It must have been exciting, really exciting.
So I went through that high again, and then I went to the interview, and then did very well apparently, and then there was still a but. Oh, you know, you did very, very well, but you know, the other candidates were more suitable for the role. So it was like up and then back to deflation. So I thought to myself, well, thank God for the Orange.
Still have Orange, isn't it?
You know, if in doubt, go to Orange. You know. So I went back home. I started applying. You know, assembling the laptops and getting ready for. And then I received a call about 2 weeks later. They then said to me, "Oh, by the way, we want you to. We've decided to accommodate you because we thought you were that. You did that well at the interview." Or assessment center as it was, and would like to offer you the role. And as a result of that, I ended up working as an extreme blue intern based in Switzerland. So this is the first time I actually worked outside of the UK. Wow. And it was an incredible journey, you know, working for IBM, consulting on behalf of Novartis, which is a pharmaceutical firm, looking at the in-country distribution of an antimalarial within rural Tanzania, you know. So it was really, really good to be launched into that corporate environment, into the consulting world. And again, the goal is aerospace engineering, but for some reason I found myself here. So I just made the most of it.
Before you on Bright, well, for those that don't know, Bright is a good friend. He actually went to school with. Yes. I just want you to give a small, as to what exactly, he was like and how it was like, just a little bit.
I just say, Folayo, when he was younger, he was a bit shy, shy guy, but he's very clever. You just knew him and his family as well, his brothers, and they are, they're people that are very, very interesting. Folayo was someone who came across as, when I first saw him, you would say that he comes across as very quiet, he minds his own business, but very well educated. He wasn't like the likes of the guys that I used to hang with, the bad and bullish type of gangsters, because I was always hanging around with because we had a different set of cliques. Because you have people that, some of the ones that are just always up to no good, playing around in the playground, causing all type of mischiefs. But Folayo was a bit different. You always knew from early that he was focused and disciplined. He came from a disciplined home and a disciplined background. And, you knew that his parents are setting target. He came from a good home. I'm not saying that some of us did, just that every different struggles there was coming out of the area of Peckham. And he was, someone who would not, mind himself, he knew not to get into certain issues, certain people. But I always respected him because I knew he was clever. He came off very polite. He wasn't someone that, because one thing about our school is if you come across that you want to bring trouble to the wrong guy, you soon find out by yourself.
Like he said, he had to be very strategic.
Yeah, so he was very strategic. But and the one thing I used to like about one thing I did respect as he obviously at the beginning it was like it was the clever group of guys, and I'm not saying we weren't clever, we were smart, but we were just street smart. Yeah, we were street smart. We were causing all the problems in the classes, setting up the troubles, the fights. Yeah. And obviously I was the leader of that of the gangs as well in that side. And the way it was with Folayo, what I respected about him that he came out of his shell as we got a bit more into I think I would say year 9 in secondary school, and he would come on the playground and play with us, and that's what I realized. One time I remember it was us, we were all playing football and we were nutmeg rush. And I tried to nutmeg him, and I remember he was going, we were doing, I think, barging as well. I tried to barge into him and he barged me onto the fence. and I really felt a lot of his firm stance, and I knew now this guy he's pretty strong, but you see, that's some of the things, the challenge some of these kids face in school. Because some people are clever. It doesn't mean that you're not receptive. You just need to go out there and be yourself. Take part in the football activities, rugby, tennis, whatever sports. Don't feel limited means that you have to stay back. Because that's one thing I say I really liked about Folayo in school. Out of all of that, he still came and hung with us. He still came and learned a lot. And that helped him as well as being clever. But he was also, I would say, he learned a lot of the tricks. The little tricks that we had. And sometimes as well, one thing I see that they came from a good prayer and a Christian background. Oh, thank you. And he saw some of my experience as well when I was,
Thank you, Mr. Brad. Well, yes. So if you're watching us on Facebook, you can keep your comments coming in. YouTube as well. Hit the like button on our Facebook page, Omega Live TV. And YouTube, hit the subscribe button as well. Like I said, if someone doesn't have the Facebook app, you can just go onto YouTube, search for Omega Live TV, and you find us there. Don't forget to subscribe. We have Florian Danaku Tebeku watching us today. God bless you. Nunes Amwaku Modesto Miki is watching with us. Tracy, when she said the advice from your dad was very essential. God bless you, very Tracy. Good. Edward Sapon is watching us today as well. Julius Adegoke Adediran, blessings, men of God, blessings to you too. Christina Abba Pamford is watching with us. Abna Skin Pain is also watching with us. God bless you. Eric Anane, Diana Ohemi, Bernard Ufuswapia, Abdullah Ahmed, Juliana Funwa, Ekia Nyantabwafo, Prince KPG is watching as well. God bless you. Thank you. Bridget Ajima is also watching. Berima Heming, God bless you. Rosemary AJ, Mayu Unique, Mona Eduse is watching with us. Benny Hilson is watching. Limpoponan is watching. God bless you. Daniel Ifisa is watching. If you have any comments, any queries, any comments, any questions, the phone lines are open right now. It's on your screen. Should be on your screen right now. You can call in. If you don't want to call in as well, you can keep your comments. We will read and we will ask him. If you have any questions for any of us, any question, just go on and comment and we will read your comments. So, Brother Folayo, at this point, let me ask, before we go to, back to your internship, what was your relationship with, how was your relationship with Christ? Like, how was the relationship with your parents? You know, as to that kind of upbringing, was it still there, or you fell astray at a point, or you were still on track?
It's quite a good question. One of the things that happens, you see, this is what people don't understand. When you come from a good home, one of the things that happens is you can end up in a situation where forbidden fruit is the sweetest.
Yeah. Wow.
You know? So there's constantly this fight in your mind, like, okay, parents said don't do this, but you see people around you doing it, and then you're like, okay, well, how, you know, you're going to, you know, try and do some things that you shouldn't be doing, you know. So I'll give an example. So we used to ride our bicycles around, you know, and we had a set area we were allowed to go, you know, to ride the bike, you know. And there were a couple of times when we will go beyond the agreed perimeter, you know, and, you know, go and hang around. And
like every young person, you want to be everybody,
you know,
adventurous a little bit. Yes.
But the problem is we didn't know how to lie, you know. So by the time you come home, your you know, your parents will ask you, so where have you been? You know, and by the time you've been saying you're not sure, you know, by the time you're, you know, like
you're contemplating,
they would know that you overstepped the mark, you know. I know. You know, but the difference is my parents didn't take any prisoners, you know. So you are going to be punished. That's right. And you are going to take that discipline and go to school the following day, and nobody must know anything, you know. So it was an interesting experience, you know, constantly having to do that. And at some stage, sometimes you felt driven to try and blend in, because sometimes the bullying can get too much, you know. You know, so this is what your parents can afford. This is, you know, so things like, you know, after you've been wearing trainers, or what they call high tech or something like that.
Yeah, man, they used to like Donne. Remember Donne?
Yeah, Donne
and those no-name trainers that look like Nike with the air bubble.
The young generation don't know this.
Even Fila then.
Sports Direct has made life easy.
No, big time.
You can buy Nike trainers for under £20. But back then, it wasn't there. You were going for your high techs and Ascots and, you know, those no-name trainers, you know. So one of the big challenges was, you know, walking on close day. Your parents would have bought something brand new.
On close days,
you know, you'll be saying thanks mom, thanks dad for those trainers. But then when you go to school, you're wishing there was a way to just, you know,
go barefoot.
You just hope it's raining so that everybody will wear Wellington boots or something.
So you can just,
you know. So that was challenging.
That was big time.
But with time, we were able to actually stand our ground and be able to give responses like, well, this is what my parents can afford, you know. So, you know, and that's it.
It wasn't easy, because I remember going through the same.
So can you say at the point that, you know, you stood on your own, you stood on your ground, and you knew Christ at the point, and you actually followed the course? Did you ever fall off? Well, you stuck to your foundation, your Christian foundation?
I would say we stuck to the Christian foundation, but it was hard at times. You know, sometimes you question, like, you know, why are you the one that's going through all of this kind of, you know, challenge, you know? But at the same time, it was very difficult for people like us to sort of veer away from the faith, because we're seeing the manifestation on a daily basis, you know. We were fortunate, my dad is in full-time ministry, we're fortunate to have people come to the house to pray, and when you're seeing that spiritual experience on a daily basis, you can't deny it. You know, so that's where where we had a bit of an advantage, you know, because we were seeing that on a daily basis.
Did you enjoy that, or did you feel forced? Did you feel that was a good thing, or did you at times feel it's a bit too much here, you know, I want to do other things? How did you find that?
I would say that it was a thoroughly enjoyable experience, because we knew the benefits of it, and this has been trained into us from an early age. So it was fun, you know. We learned to play music through this, you know. I was very keen on learning my mother tongue, you know. So when you sing the Yoruba songs, you learn the mother tongue, you know. So it was always a very fun, inspiring, engaging thing. My dad always used to say, for example, that, you know, these children need to be confident.
Right.
So a lot of ability to speak publicly and so on and so forth came from those early experiences, So for example, you're going to read Psalm 91 today, and when you start reading it, if you get it wrong, you're going to start from the beginning.
Wow.
There in the living, where
in front of everyone.
Yeah.
And you have to project your voice. Even up to today, my dad still corrects my English.
Oh wow.
So was that helpful?
Yeah, very, very helpful.
Wow.
Very, very helpful. So I would say to parents, don't underestimate the impact of that family time.
Definitely.
It's not going to be there forever. But that short period of time when it's there, that short 7 to 10 years, maximize it.
Yes, I agree.
Because the children will, the Bible says, train a child in the way that you go, and it will not depart from it.
Depart from it.
So I honestly believe that my parents had that model absolutely spot on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yes, how did you, you were just telling us about your internship? Let's just go back there.
Yeah.
Tell us how. Yes, from that journey, your internship. How did you get where you are now?
Okay. So I believe I left off where, so I went to IBM, worked on a consulting project on behalf of Novartis on how we could improve the in-country distribution of an anti-malarial drug within rural Tanzania. So that gave me a lot of exposure in terms of working with individuals in a corporate setting. Okay. It was an interesting experience, moving from having to call every adult sir, to that transition to calling people by their first name who are clearly senior to you. And so, a lot of people don't understand this in industry, that people who are raised in West African backgrounds or African backgrounds, we don't just call people by their first name. But in this country, that's what you do. Yeah. So seeing that, some of the challenges, I remember, I don't drink alcohol, for example. So this business of after work drinks, that thing was...
Oh, that time socializing.
I remember that thing was an absolutely very, very difficult for me, because that's not how I socialize, Switch on some music and, let's dance. That was what I'm about. But just sitting down, drinking alcohol wasn't my thing. So having to find a smart way to integrate with the workforce and so on and so forth was a challenge, but we eventually got there, found a way to, and I found that the best way actually is to just be yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
People in anything in life.
People will respect you, take an interest in you when you are yourself. You don't have to be anybody else. You don't have to try and conform. Just be yourself. If you're somebody that believes in integrity, then stay that way and be consistent. People are unreasonable and unpredictable, but try to be consistent with who you are. When you start going like this, when you start trying to fit in here, you end up losing yourself. So that's one of the things I learned through that experience. And then from there comes another interesting part. I know we're building up to the whole Rolls-Royce experience. So penultimate year, just completed the internship, and now we're trying to get into Rolls-Royce. So I remember I applied for the summer internship that summer for Rolls-Royce, and I was declined at the assessment center. Okay. So again, I just want to say the Rolls-Royce story is also not a straightforward story.
So rosy,
yeah. People think that you apply to Rolls-Royce and you just get in. It doesn't happen like that. It's a very, very difficult company to get into.
Yeah. Right.
So there are, they have assessment centers, group exercises, so on and so forth. Applying for the summer internship. I remember the assessment center. The guy just brought a piece of metal out of his pocket. The technical assessment said, "Which part of the engine is this?" And the engine is extremely complicated. Wow. So I had no clue. I didn't even know that I had to, do any sort of study or anything to try and get the job. I thought that, by the time I just used some charm that we used in school and so on and so forth, they would just like me and like my. So one thing I would say is, there's this thing all the time where people say, "Oh, follow your dreams, follow your heart," and they give people the impression as though you don't have to, do anything, when you go for a job. Not when you're from a background where you're not where you're from a minority background.
Yeah, true.
Because you're rubbing shoulders with the best from schools all over the world. Not just even in this country. So you have to try and do something that gives you an edge. So that's where I then realized that it wasn't just about turning up to the interview dressed smartly and just coming to talk. You had to have some preparation. So the next time I did some preparation, and I applied again. I thought they were going to ask me the same questions at the interview. So you went around the same they asked me different questions, and I didn't get in.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Then the third time, I remember I applied, and the application just bounced. Really? Yeah, so with the same kind of thing. So I thought you can just cut and paste your application.
It wasn't as easy as that. They got to know that it was a similar application.
Well, I don't know what it was, but it bounced.
But he was never discouraged. Like,
no, but I just kept on going.
That's
Kept on going.
Keep going.
And I think that was from when I failed my driving test 3 times before passing at the 4th attempt. So I kind of learned that attitude, you just keep going. Yeah. And then I applied the 4th time, and then I was able to make it to the assessment center. And this time, having, I really experienced it. I really said, this time I'm going to prepare.
That's right.
And by God's grace, I was successful. And that's how I started on the graduate training program in engineering. And then from there, I got to work for the control systems team, and then I moved into whole engine systems, looking at advanced low emissions technology for the future. So we're trying to make engines that produce power in an efficient way, and a way that doesn't pollute the environment unnecessarily. And then moving forward, I then worked within the department that helps that designs the turbine blades and the internal cooling systems. Right. And then I worked at the department that makes the fan blades. I don't know if anybody has paid attention when they're at the airport, but when you look at the aircraft, there are 2 or sometimes 4 engines sitting under the wings of the aircraft. So the first thing you see that looks pretty is the fan.
It's the fan, the big fan.
So the process for making the fan is actually quite interesting. Wow. Very, very interesting. I won't say the name here so that I don't cause any errors on the electrical systems or anything, but it's made of metal components in a very, very complicated manufacturing process. So I worked on that process, and then I looked at improvements in the facility which is used to overhaul and repair some of the engine components, before then moving to Montreal in Canada, where I worked for about 8 months on improving the computer modeling system for an industrial gas turbine which generates power.
Right. Yeah. It all sounds very, technical.
I'm sure you know what's going on. I'm sure you understand what you're saying.
It all sounds very technical to me.
That's the modernization of flying on planes.
And
how planes move.
And,
some of these things, to some of us, it's very interesting the way you explain it, because I never even looked at it that way. But you see, it shows that there's a lot of key things that go into it. But one thing I'm really, touched by is that your determination, that you still kept on going. And then I think sometimes that's what it is in life. There's that key job that we want. There's that opportunity that we want. There's that talent that we are good at, and we are, we might get knocked down. We might be refused by the interview that you went, you didn't get the job, but keep going. The more you keep going, one day, soon as you encountered that you got your dream job, and then obviously you're here to share with us today. So that's great.
Thank God. We give God the glory. There's something my parents always used to say, which is, I forgot to mention, my parents started a Saturday school in around 1996, and the idea was to try and encourage people who had the talent, to focus, given all the challenges with low people expectation and so on and so forth in the schools. And the motto for that school was good, better, best. Let us never rest till our good is better and our better best. And that stuck with a lot of people that passed through that secondary school.
Wow. Well, do you have a caller?
Yes.
Hello, good evening, caller. You are live on My Life is My Testimony.
All right, welcome. Thank you. I just have a question for Folayo here.
Okay.
And, just to the general panel about how do you separate? He talked about his applying to Rolls-Royce and looking for a job and going through failure. But how do you equate the hard work and the graft that he had to put into that, and then overlay that into saying, you know, God's blessing.
Before Folayo answers that question, can you please tell us your name and where you're calling from, please?
I am calling from the UK. My name is Carl.
Carl, okay, all right. So Folayo, over to you.
Yeah. Hi, Carl.
Hey, Folayo.
Yeah, it sounds like a former colleague, actually. Sneakily trying to come on. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. You see, Carl. I know where you're coming from. So Carl is, correct me if I'm wrong, agnostic.
We'll go with that term for now.
Okay. So you see, one thing I've always believed, Carl, is that everybody has to have something that motivates them and drives them, and that thing is unique to each individual. Okay, so in my case, the two are inextricably linked. I cannot separate my faith from my achievements because my whole being and my whole belief system is that what I achieve is to give glory to God. So I believe that God deposited the talents inside me to enable me to be able to achieve what I've achieved so far. So to not equate them would be to say I haven't got a purpose for my life, which is not something that makes any sense. You know, so for me, it's just as simple as that. My life's purpose is what I'm doing today because of the talents that were deposited in me from birth.
That's right.
Hello, Carl. Is your question answered?
It's an answer. Yeah, it's great. I don't want to. I'll let other callers call it.
Sure. Thank you for joining us today. God bless you richly.
Thank you.
All right. Yes. Before we go, well, we'll take any last callers anyway. But before we go, you know, you've shared a very great story. You know, it hasn't been a smooth road, obviously. You know, you've had ups and downs. You had to get up. You had to pull yourself up here and there. And it's from that firm, solid foundation you had from your parents, your upbringing, you know. Speak to someone out there. What do you think that your parents did right? Because obviously, I'm sure you might have been exposed to other family settings and you must have seen what went on there and how different your own, you know, influenced how you have ended up right now, you know. What do you think that, you know, your parents did right? Speak to someone out there, you know. Yeah.
So the first one this is the one I find most incredible, right? Is the understanding that love is not always a bed of roses. So I remember my dad saying to me a lot of times, Dad, Mom, you know, at the end of the day, if you love your child, the big picture is that you want your child to succeed in life. That coupled with the fact that the child needs to understand that the world is not a nice place. You see, there's a tendency when you shelter a child and you give the child everything they want and they haven't worked a day in their life and they've got the latest iPhone and the latest, you know, gadgets and so on and so forth. They're disconnected from the struggle to achieve those things. And there's a Yoruba saying which translates to, you know, what you haven't toiled for can't last long in your hands. What you haven't toiled for cannot last long in your hands. So the issue is, if as a parent you think you're loving your child by spoiling the child, giving them everything they want because, and it's usually from a good place, you know, they didn't have all these things, so they want to give it to the child. The problem with that is that the child is disconnected from real life. So I think what my parents really did right in a nutshell is to make the realities of life clear to us very early on. Now, some people interpreted that as the parents making the children old before their time, and I've heard comments like that, like you're making, you know, when we were being raised, where soldier come, soldier go, you know, it was very strict upbringing. But some people interpreted that as making the children old before their time. You hear things like, let them make their own mistakes, you know. You will hear things like, you know, what if you put too much restrictions, then the child will grow up X, Y, Z, X, Y. But my dad was consistent. He stuck with what God gave him and the model that he was given. And at the end of the day, a lot of people who didn't take that advice, they found it difficult now to then, at this phase of life, start encouraging those children to adopt a path. So then you now have a situation where people see people like me and say, oh, I want to be like that. But the question is, you know, it's not rosy to be like that. You know, that you have to go through some challenges, and it's those processes that make you who you are. The other thing my dad always did is to make sure that we don't compare ourselves to other people. He made it clear from day one that life is not a level playing field. Okay, so today I'm a program manager at Rolls-Royce. It doesn't mean that somebody out there cannot be even higher than me, or cannot even take a better job than me.
That's true.
Okay, it's just a case of timing. Everybody has their own timing. Everybody learns at their own pace. Everybody grows. So the key thing is, when you're running a race, you run your race, and you stay in your lane, and you run your race. The moment you start looking at what other people are doing, you slow down, or you lose momentum, you lose focus. So there were people when I was in school, or when I was, you know, they were advancing faster in different areas, or, you know, it seemed as though, you know, this one has a girlfriend, this one has this one has that, and I was the boffin that was just focusing on my studies.
That's right.
You know, so the thing is, like, as long as you keep that focus and, you know, recognize that everybody's path is different, then it takes away some of that pressure of trying to be like everyone else, dress like everybody else. And I found that at times I was an absolute rebel in terms of, you know, I even remember there was a time I didn't even used to really cream my fingers, and people used to wonder, why does this guy not cream his fingers in school? You know, why do you? And I remember explaining that, see, at the time, you know, I just found the cream was disturbing my pen, you know. The interaction between my pen and writing, it was distracting me. And, you know, I was one of these more paper people, you know, when you're writing an English essay or something, you know, I run out of paper, you know, so I needed to be able to write fast, you know, to be able to get everything I needed to get on the paper, and it was disturbing me. But people were abusing me, you know, like, you cross their fingers. Even in class, you see them going like this, you know, and stuff like that.
I probably was one of them.
But by that time, I got this resilience that, look, I really couldn't care anymore. You know, I've got my focus, and there'll be plenty of time for me to cream my fingers in future. So I look forward to that.
So,
I was just going to say, also, I know, like, you set up something very interesting when you was at Rolls-Royce, the Union African, I believe. And if you wanted to go a bit more, tell us a little bit more about what you're about to do now.
Okay.
I think that's very important.
Fantastic. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah. So Rolls-Royce is viewed externally as a white British organization, and the view of a lot of people from our backgrounds is that they can't ever get into that kind of institution. Even me, initially I thought, oh, I'll just throw my application in, what will happen? But then what I also recognize is, whilst there, you know, the organization is making huge strides to try and, you know, be more diverse and inclusive. But I noticed that being sort of 80% white male, for example, it can be an intimidating environment to go into as an ethnic minority, particularly from the kind of backgrounds that I've come from, and so on and so forth, when you don't see somebody else who knows what super malt is, or, you know, you know, nobody to eat jollof rice with. Before you know it, you start eating shepherd's pie at lunch, and you know, and it's not really something you're used to. So I thought that, well, there needs to be a sort of bi-directional communication here. So the first one is make the organization aware that it can be quite intimidating and daunting to come into this kind of organization and be yourself. And the other side of it is, you can't perform at your best unless you're able to be yourself. So I had a great team of people. Carl Ivory was actually one of the people on that team. And we were able to pull together a kind of strategy and engage with people at the very highest levels of the organization, the chief executive, the chairman, and basically try and get this message of diversity and inclusion in place. And we launched the first ever employee resource group, which was called the African and Caribbean Professional Network. And we launched that in 2014 formally, even though there was some groundwork before that, and it's been going strong ever since. And every year we have a yearly conference where we basically try and discuss some of the issues. We have a theme, you know, and it's been received quite well at work. And as a result of that, other networks have also launched and so on and so forth. So it's really, really good to see an organization like Rolls-Royce really starting to strike at what drives the individual. And that helps them then get the best performance from that individual, enables them to be at their best in the workplace, and therefore enable them to perform at their best. So that was really good.
And what's your new opportunity now?
I'm going to be working for a company called Safran Group. So the company has a lot of things it specializes in. I'll be looking at the electrical and power side, and I'm looking forward to that challenge. Yeah. So I just wanted to say one thing just before I close. So this bride that is sitting here today,
oh my God!
Don't bring it to me now, please.
It's a very different bride.
Wow.
But not too different. And I'll say this. So I remember this man started preaching on the school playground.
All right.
And people thought it was a joke. He started, and before you knew it, people were now gathering around, listening on that school program. It was so powerful. So to see you now turning that vision into reality, I just pray that God continues to give you more grease to your elbow, and you continue to do more and continue to impact the youth even more. Because
he actually told that story here. Yeah, he always says it, but at least you were there now.
I was there. You know that I wasn't. He's not lying now.
Yeah, witness to that.
I was a witness.
That was like the whole. It took almost like half or more of the whole playground to come out, and it just shows what God can do. And so I always had it in me anyway. It was always in me, the things of Almighty.
Brother Folayo, we are grateful to have had you on our show today.
Thank you.
But before you go, you know, just look into our camera, speak to the young people out there.
Someone.
You know, encourage it, because this is all this program is about, is to inspire someone, to tell someone about Christ, what Christ can do in our lives. You know what? Tell someone that, you know, it doesn't matter how many times you fail, it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter the kind of circumstances you are coming from. God does not look at those things. He doesn't pay no attention to those things. Just talk to these young people out there. You know what? You are a living proof. You are a good example of what God can do. You know. So just look in the camera there and then speak to someone.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So if there are any young people watching this show now, you've probably heard my story by now, and I'm hoping that you've been inspired. You see, my faith, I believe in Jesus Christ, and I believe that God has deposited talent in me. He has deposited talent in you, and that if you can apply yourself, if you can tap into that talent, you can do whatever it is that God wants you to do. You know, you will get discouragement. You will get people trying to derail you. You will have some friends that are always calling you over to their houses when you need to be doing your homework, when you need to be studying. You know, you have to have the resilience, the strength of mind to be able to say no. The answer no is sometimes just as good as the answer yes. You know, and saying no can be very, very difficult. But always try and keep the big picture in mind, you know. I know I'm talking to somebody this evening right now. You're probably contemplating, you know, how you're going to get through your next exam. Maybe you're preparing for something over this Christmas. You know, maybe you've just received a WhatsApp that says you should go to somewhere you shouldn't go to. You know, if you're listening, if you're watching, you know, do a U-turn and go and face the things that you should be working on this evening. And you might actually find that there'll be a big difference in the way you apply yourself and the way you start to comport yourself. And you'll find that rather than you being the follower, you become the trendsetter. You know, and always remember this, that you have a talent deposited in you, and it's for you to harness that talent, to grasp it, to protect it, you know, and be a trendsetter, not a trend follower. Thank you for listening to me, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Brother Folayo. We are grateful. But before we leave, Minister Bright, do you have any last words quickly in about 60 seconds?
I just want to say thank you, Folayo. Thank you, Bedford. And thank you, all the viewers and everyone watching. If you didn't hear earlier, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and hope that you've enjoyed the festive. like Folayo here just shared, you know, a wonderful and inspirational testimony. You know, in life, we always come through challenges and we come through obstacles. It doesn't matter what your background is. If you're watching, you're a youngster, if you're a parent, just know that you can encourage your child. And as children, that there's always hope. You got a talent, you got a gift. God is giving you that for a reason. I believe that, you know, through my ups and downs, even my backsliding, the things that I went through, God is still using me to do his work. He can use you. Just as what he's done for Folayo, he can do the same thing for you. Never give up in life. Just like Folayo never gave up in life. Even when he got the setbacks, when he got rejected from Rolls-Royce, he still kept on going. That's the grace that you need. Always remember the prayer. Praying and having faith. Believing in God that there was always a way. You know, where you know, as you trust in the Lord, that he will always make a way. I also know if you're watching and you haven't given your life to Christ, this is the most important to give yourself to Christ. You know, for as he says that we are all sinners. We are all not righteous. That's right. But it's just through the grace of God that we are saved. You know, God loved us. That's why he gave his son for us. This is the reason why we are celebrating this season of Christmas, because of Jesus Christ. It's the best decision you make, and it's the best choice for you. Accept Jesus, believe in him as your Lord and Savior, and it will help you greatly. And God bless you, and God be with you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this evening. This has been My Life is My Testimony, and as usual, we will come your way same time next week at 8:30 on the dot. Merry Christmas to you all, and remember, this is a season of love, and do not let this season pass you by without showing some love to someone. Let someone be touched. Give to someone. Show love to the poor. You know what? Just show someone some love. God bless you for joining us.
God bless you.